Thanks for joining us. Starting Tuesday, American booze will be off the shelves at LCBO stores. That's the first strike from Premier Doug Ford in the tariff trade war with the U.S. That is the same day President Trump's 25% tariffs are set to take effect on most Canadian goods. We are covering the trade war from several angles for you. We start with Brittany Billette.
LCBO shelves will soon look a lot different. You won't see American liquor on them, and we don't know when they'll come back. Round one in Ontario's fight against President Donald Trump's tariff war will be the Battle of the Booze, a retaliatory measure in response to the U.S. announcement on Saturday that it would impose 25% tariffs on most Canadian imports starting Tuesday. So far, reviews on the American alcohol ban are mixed.
I'm actually a dual citizen, dual American and Canadian citizen, and I've never felt more anti-American in my life.
Who are we punishing? California wines and a few tequila brands, really? I don't know how measured that is against lumber and aluminum and steel.
Fully behind it. Well, because we need to do something to respond, and I think that's one of the ones that should hit, especially in the red states, especially we're talking about bourbon as an example.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford made his case on American TV networks this weekend.
We aren't going to lie down and roll over.
He says he's ordered the LCBO to pull all U.S. products off the shelves and from its catalog. That means restaurants and retailers can't restock them too. In a statement released Sunday, Ford said every year LCBO sells nearly $1 billion worth of American wine, beer, spirits, and seltzers. Not anymore. Some local alcohol producers are calling the American liquor ban a silver lining amid the storm.
Ontario wine has come a long way, but this gives people more of an opportunity to get out there and try some of the best things that we grow.
And it's not just Ontarians who will now be shopping local. BC, Manitoba, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland all announced similar measures. But this economist says a ban on U.S. liquor is an overreaction.
Why are we compounding a problem by removing the free will of people to choose what they do and don't like? Second problem is that most of the wine that's made in the US that appears on Canadian shelves is from California, Oregon, and Washington. All three states have Democratic governors. All three states have 2 Democratic senators. So there's no Republican out there that's going to get the president's ear.
And there was more criticism from Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie.
He's going to remove American brands off the shelves of the LCBO. Okay. I get you. Fine, great, support that. Where's the rest of the plan? Where's the stimulus for our industries? What about job? People are afraid. People are angry.
All this uncertainty at a time when Ontario's snap election is just around the corner, and it's not yet clear how the province or the federal government can convince the U.S. to stand down. It appears that this tit-for-tat trade war has only just begun, and there's no clear winners. Brittany Billette, CBC News, Toronto.
Donald Trump telling reporters tonight he'll be speaking to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tomorrow. But as Katie Simpson explains from Washington, there's no sign the trade war is off.
A defiant Donald Trump returning to Washington, digging in for a fight. In this moment, it seems unlikely a trade war can be avoided.
I'm speaking with Prime Minister Trudeau tomorrow morning, and I'm also speaking with Mexico tomorrow morning. And I don't expect anything very dramatic. We put tariffs on. They owe us a lot of money, and I'm sure they're going to pay.
Trump is undeterred, despite his own warnings of difficult times ahead. Writing on social media, will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. It will all be worth the price that must be paid.
Donald Trump saying no more. We're not going to be taken advantage of anymore.
Border security concerns and stopping illegal drugs may be the official reasons the Trump administration is using to justify the tariffs. But according to the vice president, tariffs will also generate revenue to pay for Trump's campaign promises.
We are committed to getting America back on a sustainable fiscal pathway. Part of that, we really think the president believes, is the tariff equation.
J.D. Vance seemed to change the goalposts again, writing on social media, "Spare me the sob story about how Canada is our best friend. Is the government meeting their NATO target for military spending?" Within Trump's inner circle, there's not much sympathy for America's trading partners.
So economically, yes, they will feel pain. They will feel what this consequences are, and will be able to continue to go forward with a president who's strong, who's putting America first.
There are some hostile words, too, for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau after announcing Canada's response.
My advice to him is he probably ought to talk to the Canadian people who are about ready to throw him out of office because he's been a total disaster.
All of it is in line with Trump's increasingly incendiary rhetoric about Canada. Complaining about trade deficits, he wrote, "Without this massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country. Harsh but true. Therefore, Canada should become our cherished 51st state." Between the tariffs and the language, Trump is facing intense opposition from Democrats who are warning Americans about just how much this is going to increase the cost of living. Estimates here range anywhere from an extra $1,200 a year to much higher costs if people are planning on making any big ticket purchases like a vehicle. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
So how is Canada fighting back? The federal government releasing a full list of imports from the U.S. that will be tariffed starting Tuesday, from meat and eggs, coffee, baby clothes, to certain home appliances, to name just a few. JP Tasker takes a look.
After U.S. President Donald Trump launched a trade war, Canada is hitting back.
We don't want to be here. We didn't ask for this. But we will not back down.
And now Ottawa has published a detailed list of the $155 billion worth of American goods Canada will target. More than 1,000 products, everything from juice and liquor to makeup and motorcycles. Fruits and vegetables, jewelry and washing machines also made the lengthy list.
Well, Canada's a very bad abuser.
It's retaliation against Trump for striking Canada first with a 25% tariff on virtually all our goods and a 10% tax on energy.
In this moment, we must pull together because we love this country.
Trump's tariffs will be devastating for the Canadian economy. So many products will be priced out of the U.S. market.
And the impact will be dramatic. It's going to be quick.
More than 2 million jobs are tied to U.S. exports, and the premiers say hundreds of thousands of them could vanish. Ottawa is planning some sort of aid for those affected.
Canadians want us to stand proudly against this kind of action, but to support one another. And we'll be there for as long as it takes, with whatever it takes.
To prop up the economy, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is demanding Trudeau recall Parliament to cut taxes and greenlight major energy projects.
It is insane that in this great crisis, Parliament is shut down.
Some Canadians are already lashing out, booing the American national anthem at a Toronto Raptors game. Canada's top diplomat in Washington is trying to smooth things over, still promising to crack down on drugs and migrants at the border to satisfy Trump's stated concerns.
It's hard to know what more we can do, but we're obviously open to any other suggestions that come our way.
There's no clarity on how long these tariffs could last. With so many American jobs dependent on Canadian trade, pressure could build at home for Trump to back down on this. Canada, though, is preparing for a war of attrition. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Projections say a trade war could result in the loss of 500,000 jobs, and the automotive sector will bear the brunt of that. Lisa Shing has that part of the story now from Windsor.
It's shift change at this Windsor assembly plant, the city's largest employer, and workers like Jonathan Klein are on edge.
I got 2 little kids to worry about, so I definitely didn't sleep very well last night hearing about this news.
But you know what? The betrayal from Americans, it's horrible.
Windsor is Canada's automotive capital, home to more than 90 makers of cars and auto parts. It has a lot to lose, and the fallout could be fast once U.S. President Donald Trump's 25% tariffs take effect.
I'm afraid for both sides, for my workers, for the workers in the United States, but it's devastating. It'll devastate us, and it'll impact quickly.
Especially since the region's auto industry is so closely tied to America's, with Michigan just across the river. Most of Canada's auto sector is based in Ontario. In 2023, 96% of its exports went to the U.S.
There will be production stoppages at plants across North America as these supply chains are turned on their head.
Some American politicians are also sounding this warning.
I cannot for the life of me figure out why you would impose and levy a tariff, which is usually levered at an adversary at best, if not an enemy, on our best ally.
Michiganders are already struggling with high costs, and the last thing we need is for those costs to increase even more.
Since vehicles go back and forth across the border multiple times during the manufacturing process, analysts say the cost for car makers could far exceed just 25%. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Turning now to the other big story we're tracking, the provincial election. On the campaign trail, the leader of the Ontario Liberals was in Ottawa making pledges to invest in healthcare.
$3 billion, which incidentally is about the same amount as those pre-election checks everyone is receiving. And we would put that into healthcare. We would put that into hiring 3,100 family doctors.
Crombie promising tax cuts for small businesses and anyone earning $75,000 a year or less. Meantime, the leader of the Ontario Green Party spent the day canvassing in Orangeville, sharing his party's priorities with voters.
Building homes that people can afford, accessing good health care, investing in public education, and protecting the places we love.
Mike Schreiner expected to continue campaigning in Kitchener tomorrow. As for the Progressive Conservatives and NDP, neither party hosting events open to the media today. One of Ontario's most famous weather forecasters making his prediction today. Crowds of community members braving the bitter cold to find out how much long winter has left.
Willie did not see his shadow. We will have an early spring.
Oh, Willie's always right. we wouldn't keep him around if he was going to steer us astray. And this is an event that goes on that has no bad things about it. Everybody just comes and has a smile on their face. And at that time in the morning when it's cold and the wind's coming off the bay, to have a smile on your face means that it is good. And I believe that's what Mac McKenzie and his buddies that started this event so many years ago were trying to do, was break up the winter time and back when we had significant winters. So it was quite a bit different, and we've just experienced one of our old time winters here right now. So it was nice to have that break up in between, and it was nice that Willie give us the prediction that he did. We rely on him to, give us what the truth is, and he's pretty good. So everybody can compare to Willie, but we're sure glad we have him on our side.
Yeah, cool -24 there this morning. Willie certainly has got his admirers, but he's not the only furry forecaster. Polar bears at the Toronto Zoo also giving some predictions today. And they disagree with Willie, saying it will be a late spring instead. Now, that is good news for polar bears. A long winter means more time for sea ice to stay frozen, crucial for their habitat. We'll see if this winter weather breaks in the next 6 weeks. Ward Anderson joining us now, tracking the numbers and tracking all these critters. Coming for your job, Ward.
Shannon, Groundhog's Day has come and gone, and whether or not there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter, and you believe our furry friends, it depends on which one you believe. Canada's groundhogs are about a 50-50 split, but I can tell you there's going to be at least 6 more days of winter coming, and it's going to be a messy Monday. We do have this system coming in that's bringing with it snow and rain and freezing rain as well. That's going to start coming through earliest hours of Monday morning, affecting your morning commute, your afternoon commute, and your evening commute as well. That's going to continue throughout the day. Now, you see this line here. In some places we're talking about snow, and in some places we're talking about rain. We're unsure of exactly where that line falls, but generally, for the most part, we're talking about snow in the further north and to the east elevations, with rain the further south we go. Not a lot of snow, talking about 5 to 15 centimeters in some places, maybe over by our nation's capital. Less so around the Golden Horseshoe, of course, but mostly going to be looking at rain in that area. And I do talk, of course, about freezing rain, something very important to be aware of, because this is something that's going to be affecting your morning commute, your afternoon, and your evening commute, as well as hard fog with not a lot of visibility. I'll tell you more about that in the long term coming up.
Ontario colleges say they are in crisis, some forced to cut or suspend programming ever since Ottawa announced its crackdown on international student permits. Now, with a provincial election campaign underway, many staff and students want to see the issue in the spotlight. Nama Weingarten has more.
Seneca, Algonquin, Sheridan, Centennial, all part of a growing list of Ontario colleges that cut programs in areas ranging from engineering to hospitality, put them on hold, or close satellite campuses.
I feel kind of bad for the future students, because what if someone wanted to become an electrical engineer from a young age and they were looking into this program, but now they can't?
It makes me scared about the future for people wanting to do those programs for college.
These closures set off when Ottawa began cracking down on international study permits. Last year's provincial budget revealed colleges will lose more than $3 billion in revenue over 2 years from the expected drop in enrollment. Tuition rates in Ontario have also remained frozen since 2019. Ontario Colleges and Universities Minister Nolan Quinn said in a statement they gave $1.3 billion to stabilize the sector, adding it's the biggest investment increase in over a decade. That increase, announced nearly a year ago, happened shortly after a government-commissioned panel recommended increasing spending by $1 billion more and ending the tuition freeze.
We are, in Ontario, the lowest per-student post-secondary funding anywhere in the country. The provincial funding here has shrunk by 28% since 2010.
The College Faculty and Support Staff Union called on the Ford government, asking for a $1.4 billion emergency infusion to put the brakes on the growing crisis. That's an amount equal to the revenue loss the sector is projected to see this fiscal year. The union's president says they're especially worried about the impact on northern and rural communities.
These are good jobs in the communities, but more than that, we are actually training the workers in these sectors that Ontario needs.
With Ontarians headed to the polls, the Liberals tell CBC News they would give schools the support they need, but didn't provide further details. The NDP say they would permanently increase base funding, while the Greens pledge to increase per-student university and college funding by 20%. Ontario's Conservative Party did not respond before deadline. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Toronto.
Torontonians connecting through art, music, and culture and honoring the achievements of Black women in Canada as Black History Month kicks off this weekend.
We have 4 different Black History Month events, and it was really just to celebrate Black musicians, Black businesses, and just give them a place to be celebrated and supported.
The community event at Toronto's Heart House, showcasing work by Black Canadian women, all organized by Waveland Canada, which is part of a nonprofit music organization. For the first time ever, the Toronto Raptors hosting a fan day this weekend. Our Tyreek Reed was there.
He shoots, he scores, and the fans go wild for some of their favorite Raptors players. The team hosted their first ever fan day event at the Scotiabank Arena.
I've never been into a Raptors game ever. My first time is at the fan day, so I'm very excited to see how that goes. Let's go Raptors! Let's go.
As a fan, I mean, it's great. I've always loved coming to games as a kid, and it was really just all about the kids today. It was awesome seeing them so happy.
The inaugural event celebrates 30 years of Canada's first and only NBA team. And although the day was meant to thank the fans for their love and support, all attention was on some of their favorite players, and one name kept getting mentioned.
Scotty Barnes.
But the love was definitely widespread.
I was excited about meeting the mascot, and I achieved it.
Part of the excitement, the Raps showing off their skills in friendly competition. The celebration also a walk down memory lane to 2019. And who could forget this?
Well, I was at the game when Kawhi made the shot. It's one of the best moments of my life. Just to make the finals was something that electrified the scene in a way we never saw before. So you definitely need to see that one more time.
And while dreams of another championship win may seem like a long shot this season, die-hard fans are still holding out hope.
It was a pivotal moment for Toronto to be able to achieve and win something like that. And you know what? I can't wait to see what's going to happen this year.
The fans are always there, every night, every time we come in here. It's always sold out. Everybody's always cheering. So just to be able to, kind of just have fun and interact with them is cool for us. They show us so much love and support. We want to be able to, give that back to them.
Terry Greed, CBC News, Toronto.
Ward is back now with us talking about a messy Monday that could hit the morning, afternoon, and evening commute.
Well, winter is definitely still here, although it is a little warmer and will continue to be a little warmer on Monday compared to where we were just a couple of days ago and just last week. But this weaker system is coming through and bringing with it this wintry mix of snow and rain and freezing rain and also freezing drizzle. Something to be aware of. It's going to continue throughout Monday, starting early in the morning, affecting your morning commute and right up into your evening as well. You see this line here where we see the snow and the rain. Well, it's a hard system to predict and track completely accurately. Not sure exactly where on that line you'll be, but the snow or the rain will affect you depending on how far north or south you are, with the snow being most likely in places of higher elevation, go up into the north and then further east over towards our nation's capital. Meanwhile, around the Golden Horseshoe, we're talking more about a rain event, and then of course that freezing rain that we're talking about. When we have the frozen ground and the temperatures getting warmer, that's when it brings that risk of freezing rain and that risk of zero visibility due to heavy fog. This will continue throughout the day as well, something you really need to be aware of if you're going to be commuting at all. I always say if you don't have to be out in it, don't be out in it. Temperatures are going to only be high for a little bit, and then it's dropping down and getting messy as we get into later in the week.
Okay, some good advice there. Thanks, Ward. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.